Just wait for some more people to join. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join. Make sure that we have everyone joined before we start. If you're joining, please let me know who you are and where you're coming from in the chat box. Love to see. Welcome to the Python for Data Analytics course information welcome session. I think we're at a pretty good capacity here, so we'll start. My name is Ali Serena, and Ali Serena Dixon, actually, my new name. And I'm going to lead you through this course information session. A few things as we get started, some questions about Zoom or some comments about Zoom. For any audio issues that you're experiencing, you can just click on the arrow next to the microphone located at the bottom left of your Zoom screen, and you can make sure your audio settings are correct. But if you can hear me, then your audio settings are correct. If you have any questions for me, I recommend that you use the Q&A section. You can see at the bottom of your screen that there's a Q&A box. And then at the end of the session, once I've gotten through the materials, I'll answer any questions then. You can also use the chat box to just describe maybe your interests and what brings you to this course and why you're interested in the course if you're interested. If the group chat does become a distraction at any time, you can feel free to turn it off by clicking on the chat button, and that's no problem as well. So today, here's a little agenda of what we're going to go through. We're going to introduce the faculty who are involved in this project and the creation of this materials and course. We'll discuss Emeritus, what Emeritus is and what kind of education and opportunities Emeritus is bringing. The course overview, the learning journey, the Emeritus learning experience, and then Q&A at the very end. So it'll be a brief walkthrough, but I think there's a lot of good content here for you. So first of all, although this says Alyssa Serena, my full name now is Alyssa Serena Dixon. I'm a course leader at Emeritus. I actually am a course leader for our applied machine learning course, and I've done our applied data science courses and Python for managers. And so I really enjoy working with Emeritus to deliver data science content to business leaders, executives, project managers, business analysts, researchers, students, and all sorts of people that are looking to either tool up their skill sets for Python or for data science, or just hop into the next step in their career and are looking to use machine learning or data science as a way to do that. I've got a master's degree in quantitative methods for the social sciences from Columbia University. I finished that in 2015. And I'm in the online travel industry. So I work full-time as a data scientist, and I use these methods in my work life every single day. The methods continue to evolve and adapt. New packages and libraries continue to evolve and adapt. And so I think this is a great course for anyone who's been either slowly learning some of these skills, but really wants to develop the fundamental building blocks and foundation for doing this at work or doing this in a career. And I can say, because of my work, that these are the skills that you do use on the job. And so it's a really applied course, and everything that you learn, you use that week, and you're developing and building a skill set. So I really enjoy these courses for that reason. I had a dual degree in math and economics from Western Kentucky, and then I did a Fulbright research scholarship in Xi'an, China in 2012 and 2013. So it's a little bit about me. Our faculty, we have Kristen Kerr. She's a data science instructor at UC Berkeley Extension. Carmen Taglienti is a software engineer and systems architect. Fabio Vasquez is a physicist and computer engineer with a MSc in physics, Master of Science in Physics. Mariana Lemnina has a PhD in cognitive science from Columbia University. So these faculty members have created materials that will help you to learn the material and to apply the material. And you'll see in the course learning journey what kinds of materials that it is. A little bit about Emeritus. Emeritus partners with the best universities in the world to create online courses like this one. Emeritus has served over 50,000 students from across the world. And here on the map is a representation of where students are coming from. In the US, we have probably the most of Emeritus students. 26% of students are coming from the US. LATAM is 12%, Europe 15%, MENA 15%, APAC 18%, and India 14%. And this is a really excellent thing for learners because there's this peer-to-peer connection and networking that can happen. And you have people from similar roles from different regions or different roles from the same region, different industries, and coming with some of the same problems and developing some of the same intuition. And so it's a really exciting thing to have people from all over the world who are learning the same material and really interested in data science and data analytics. And so I think this is an incredible strength for Emeritus, is to have this breadth to be able to reach such a wide geographic audience. The other thing is that something I always like to say is that Emeritus, working with so many people across the world, has really developed a good support system and an understanding of what it takes to help learners learn across the globe. And so this is a tried and true development system where you have program support helping you along the way, helping you along your journey. And that's something that I haven't seen in other courses. Generally with online courses, you have a little interaction with the faculty and course instructors, but you don't really get that, that feedback or that follow-up. If you fall behind, you fall behind. And so I really appreciate that Emeritus has seen what works and has put those practices into their courses. The completion rate for Emeritus is over 80%, and I think it's maybe over 85% for courses. And I think that's something that speaks to just how tried and true their follow-up and their program support is. So the learning is designed, oh, there it is, 85% plus. Learning for Emeritus learning is designed for you to complete the course, for you to be able to make your way through it while having a busy life, while working, while taking care of your own daily needs. And so there's live webinars, there's graded assignments and simulations, and then there's follow-up to ensure that you're completing, that you're staying on track. So it's content from leading academic institutions. And I think with Columbia's content, it's content that you, for any of the content, they have an incredible selection of universities that they work with that are all creating materials that you would get if you were inside their classes in one of their graduate programs. And then those materials are being developed for you. And so I think being able to have access to an organization that works across all these top universities and with all their material is just a really strong thing. There's peer-to-peer learning and feedback. That's kind of what I talked about, the strength of having so many people across the globe who are in your course. That ability to connect with others and to talk about similar interests and to network and take these relationships from learning together to offline and helping each other in your careers and in your research. There's guest lectures, simulations, bite-sized learning, real-world applications, mobile learning applications, and then grading and evaluation. And so it's really a full ecosystem designed for your completion. The Emeritus Network is exclusively available to Emeritus past participants. So if you pass successfully any one of the certified or diploma programs, you're able to connect within this global network, and you can generate ideas, develop ventures, identify opportunities, really just any of those things that come from having a global network. It's up to you, of course, to engage in that and develop those friendships and relationships. But we found it's definitely a community that is well connected and has a very exciting opportunity. Emeritus Network offers tuition assistance, invitation to global events. There's a startup corner, extended program access, and then access to Emeritus groups. So that's a little bit about the course leaders, myself, and Emeritus, but let's talk about the course content. The learning journey for this course is 100 recorded video lectures, 35 application assignments, 25 plus discussions, 12 live online teaching sessions, and 4 quizzes. So it's a lot of material packed in. I'm going to go through the modules of the course now. The first module is an introduction to data science. And this is really a why data science, what is data science, and what is the data science workflow type of questions. Module 2, working with data types and operators in Python. So this is the basic foundation of working in Python. And sometimes we get questions of how much Python are we going to learn in this course? Well, Python is so used now in industry for all sorts of applications, including web design and software engineering. And so there are lots of aspects of Python that are appropriate for those. But here you're fundamentally learning Python for the data analytics. So to be able to work with data, to be able to read in your data, analyze your data, visualize your data. So we're going to teach you all the things that you need to know in Python in order to do that. And mostly it's going to be working with data types and operators, writing your own functions in Python so that you can do the same thing over and over again. We're going to go over popular data science packages in Python, and these are like NumPy and Pandas. I think those are the two most, and the Matplotlib and Seaborn, which are visualization, which are very, very important. And then we'll talk about advanced functions, and being able to understand and develop your own functions is one aspect, but also being able to write functions within functions is something that people don't generally think of. And then when they realize how valuable it is, it's sort of eye-opening. We'll do data manipulation and analysis with Pandas, which is, Pandas is the sort of most widely used data package in Python. And it has a lot of capabilities to do things that might have traditionally been done either in a SQL query or in Excel. And then for those of us who worked in R for a long time, it is sort of what you use instead of R in Python, and has a lot of incredible applications, including the tidyverse and a lot of interesting data applications and regex, things like that. So module 7 is going to be data visualization with Matplotlib. Matplotlib is the most essential plotting package in Python, and it has a lot of offshoots. And so being able to understand the basics of Matplotlib is I think, an essential tool. Module 8 is random variables and statistical inferences. And this is something that really gets into the business analytics side. It's one of the first things that really asks you to solve a problem and to determine from data sort of summary statistics and understand the skew of your data or the distribution of your data. So I think that's a really big module, and all of the things that you're learning until then are really helping you, preparing you to be able to program and code the statistical inferences in Python. Module 9 is statistical distributions and hypothesis testing, which is just an extension of Module 8. Module 10 is data cleaning, and this is going to be where you're going to look at nulls and duplicates and how do we deal with outliers and things like that. Module 11 is exploratory data analysis, and this is really what you're going to do when you pull in a data set from your own work life or from a public source, from web scraping, is just that aspect of exploring your data, getting summary statistics for your variables, and handling your data in different ways, visualizing the distributions of your data, finding correlations and frequencies, and visualizing those correlations and frequencies. And then module 12 is getting started with linear algebra for machine learning, which is really that preparatory basic skill set to be able to do most of the machine learning in Python. And so I think this course is a really good preparation for any of the other things that you might see when you're looking at machine learning or data science in Python, because they kind of often take you from the point of you have a clean data set and you split your data set into training and testing, and then you apply maybe a scikit-learn machine learning model, or you apply some sort of TensorFlow model. But it sort of assumes that you've already worked through your data and you already have a very clean, very well understood data with well understood variables, and you're already ready with the X's and the Y that you have, and you already know what kind of model you're going to use, whether it's a regression model or a classification model, or whether you're going to do unsupervised learning with some sort of cluster model. Most of the courses are going to assume that you've already gotten your data from somewhere and you've joined your data, you've merged everything together, you've removed the nulls and cleaned your data, you've removed duplicates, you've dealt with outliers in any possible way, you've turned your categoricals into dummy columns, you've done everything you need to do, and then you're going to apply some sort of machine learning model or something like that. With this course, you're really going to be able to say, this is data analytics, from pulling in data, joining data, cleaning data, to visualizing the data, not just for yourself to understand your data, but then for presentation to stakeholders, to be able to show the relationships between data, but to show the trends and things like that. So it's going to be the preparation that would come before anybody would ever take the data and do something with it with the machine learning. So I think this analytics side and the preparation part of the data is an often underlooked capacity that is just sort of assumed, but it's actually quite difficult to get these skills and to get them all in order. So one of the things I love about this course is that you're developing each of the skills necessary to be able to get your data ready for and presentable to stakeholders, to be able to get the trends and all of those sort of things. So if you don't have clean data, or you're really interested in getting data from other sources and using that in your business, or just using that to determine trends, or even pulling some of the public data sets that are available on Kaggle to monitor current trends and do analysis on current trends, this is definitely the course for you, because you're going to be able to take in that data, clean that data up, and then analyze that data and make sure that you're covering all your bases when it comes to the important aspects of nulls and duplicates and outliers and visualization and all of those things. So it's a great course for that. The learning outcomes that we expect that you'll have when you finish this course is discovering the data scientist toolbox. What are the essential skill sets of a data scientist or a data analyst? What are the data science tools that are used, and what are the industry applications of data science tools? Conduct analysis using NumPy. So the basic statistical analysis, the mean, the median, the standard deviation, any of the basic statistical analyses, you can use NumPy to do that. And so that's something that generally people need to have right away, and you'll be able to do that here. Discover the variability of your data. So quantify the probability of a given outcome using probability theory. Use data to achieve insights. Write Python functions to analyze and visualize your data and derive simple insights from your data for yourself and for stakeholders. And I also say the matplotlib library and a different library, Seaborn, which is built using the same basics of matplotlib. They're actually incredible plots to use in presentations, and you have a lot of capability to change the look and feel of the plot. And so I've definitely moved over from my previous plots in a previous world, which were Excel and Tableau and R, to using Python plots for stakeholders and for presentations, and I have a lot of control. And one of the things that people asked in the beginning of a course like this is, how can I just, look at my data and get a sense of my data, like what's contained in my data? Is there anything that allows me to do that? You have to think that Python allows you to read in millions of rows of data and gives you summary statistics in a second for millions of rows of data, and gives you plots for millions of rows of data. And so it's a very powerful tool to be able to use in a way that Excel might not be as powerful. So it's a real upgrade if you've been used to using Excel. And if you're used to using something like R, this is definitely going to makes a lot of sense to you. You can also create visualizations using Matplotlib, as I spoke about, and those are super useful. Testing your conclusions using hypothesis testing to determine the reliability of your conclusions. I think this is very essential for most business right now, is trying to determine A/B tests, to run customer analyses, to do things like that. Quick number crunching. You can use built-in and custom functions to perform common tasks and analyses. I think writing your own functions to do things that are common for your business is a very helpful thing. And then manipulate data using pandas. So reshape, slice, pivot, filter data using the pandas library. I think that's one of the most essential data analytics capabilities, and pandas is great for that. So a little bit about the Emeritus learning experience. We have the user-friendly platform, live lectures delivered weekly via people like myself, assignments with real-world applications, and peer learning discussions. So I think in my first foray into teaching online, which was probably 2000 and 12, we had discussion boards that weren't utilized very well, and content that was sort of, let's just leave it up to you to pick and choose what you want. And I just feel we've gone so much farther down the road since then. I mean, we really have a user-friendly platform where you can find where you left off very quickly and what's left to do in the module very quickly. And also the discussions are really tailored to your learning experience and to your development of these skills. So it's not just like, how did you feel about this material this week, but really, here are some more resources for you. Take one of these, take some time and look through this, and then let us know what you learned so that we're sharing in a peer community. So I think that the ability to learn online is only getting better, and the connectedness in these courses is only getting stronger. And so that's something that I've really appreciated, just watching that change over time. The live lectures delivered weekly. I can tell you a little bit about the live office hours that we have each week. A course facilitator like myself will lead a once a week online office hours. And usually we're going to go over something like the assignment, a review of the material, and then something else that is going to help you in your journey. And so it depends on the instructor and what they like to do. For myself, I usually review the assignments because there's always questions on, why did this not work out the way I planned it to? But there's also a time for, people like me to take cases and to bring in extra data and to do sort of code alongs to really develop, new capabilities and go a little bit outside of the given material, and maybe bring in some things that we've seen online or that we're looking at, and show you how we would analyze them. And so I think it's really great to have people in industry who are coming in to lead these courses, because we have a personal interest in this. This is something we really are excited about. It's something we like to do. And so you're getting our passion and our excitement during the course. And so I know I have an office hours tonight, and I'm going to go through some time series financial data and just teach a little bit about how to clean and create lagged variables, and how to do a simple linear regression using, the previous days or the previous 2 days as the independent variable. So, there's a lot of ways that you can do these analyses, but just being able to work in different modes and be flexible is something that you only get with experience. And the more you look at data and the more you look at analyses and the more code that people can give you that you have as your own archive, the faster you're going to be on the job. So if you've seen it before, I always think you're going to be able to do it yourself. If you've got the code already, you'll be able to figure out how to put your own data into the code. So we really just like to give you as much of a breadth as we can. And I think this course has been really fun for that. And so subject matter experts providing guidance. We really answer your questions related to the content and assignments and provide feedback on your assignments, but we also will help you understand why things don't work and the best way to do things. And if we don't know something, we'll research it until we get to the bottom of it. So we always have such a breadth and a variety of roles that are represented in our participants. So people are coming to us with questions that are very specific to their domain or to the things they're facing at work. And it really keeps us on our toes, because we have to think about, well, let me think of the best way to do that, because that's not generally how I have to work it. So a really good example of this is that in one of the courses, data analytics courses, I had someone say, here's the time series data that I get for stock prices for my company. And he created anonymized data that he could use in the course to give us, to show us what his problem was. And he said, I read in my data, but there are dates missing. And I want to have a full data set where the dates are there and there's just a null value if the value is missing. When I pull in the data, it just has the dates missing. How can I create the full range of dates and have a data frame that has the full range of dates? And then if for some reason that data was missing, it's just missing and there's a null value there. And so it was such a fun exercise, because for me, I was able just to create a notebook to show that I could just send along to him. And in the notebook, I read in his data, and then I created a shell sort of scaffold data frame that had all of the dates by saying, I want a date range from the minimum date in his data set to the maximum date in his data set. And that's going to be the index of my data frame. And then I'm going to merge his data onto that, because his index and my index are the same, except for that I have more. And then I'm just going to do a left left join onto that data set and the missing places will be there. And so it's a very simple way to solve a problem, and it makes so much sense. But if you've never seen it in Python, if you've never seen the actual function of how to create a date range or how to, build a data frame with a date range as its index, you need to see someone do it first. So it was fun for me. It was a great question that he just sort of pulled up in the, in a discussion board and brought a little bit of data to say, I don't know how to do this. Like, how would I do this? And for me, it was so much fun to be able to just work through that problem with him and create some code. And then everybody else in the course was also able to look at that and say like, oh, that's cool to know. And so it's an example that sometimes the material that's provided is foundational, but if you have another question for something specific, we're able to create additional content as we go and add that to it so that you're able to get everything that you need specific to your, business function or your aspirations where you want to go. So I think there's a really nice flexibility, and that the course instructors are here to help you figure out what you need to be successful in your next step. And if that helps is about helping you find the data that you want to find out in the wild, or helping you understand a specific way to apply one of these functions or to create your own function, then we're here to do that. So it makes the material come alive, I think. What to expect each week from us. So I think this is bite-sized learning is the name of the game. You're all busy, you all have lives that you need to attend to. And so we know that, and we want to make sure that the learning is not going to be 5-hour lectures where you have to keep coming back and find your place, but really small lectures that will just teach you 1 or 2 things at a time, and then you can apply those. There'll be a knowledge check or some application of it, and then you move on to the next thing. So each week's material is not overwhelming. It's not like you have to give yourself, 5 days and you have to do it every night. But there are about 8 to 10 hours a week of time commitment. And that's not all the lecture materials. Sometimes that's just you engaging in the discussion board or taking a chance to look at the resources that we provide you that week. A good example is one week we're asking you to learn more about the code errors that you get when you do something wrong, or you have some sort of, mismatched or type error or data error. When you get an error log, you need to be able to know how to read that error log. And so we have an entire, resource section that kind of helps you understand the error log, what to look for, and how to handle it. We also have some error handling inside our inside the material so that you'll know what to do with these. So there's, really like bite-sized sections where you can learn just what you need to know, and you can learn it in smaller bits, so that as you're working through each week, you're starting to build that intuition about Python and those fundamental skills, but it's not overwhelming. The assignments, the videos, the practice data sets, the interactive exercises, and the career guidance webinars, they're all there for you to develop your skills and to move into the next role for yourself, or the next step in your current role. And there's frequent course communication from us, from your learning facilitators, and we'll guide you through this experience, and we'll help you determine what you need to get to the next place. It's different for everybody. So a little bit about the fees and the application deadlines. The course fee here is $13.50 plus GST. GST is payable for Singapore-based students only, of course. The course commences June 29th, which is not too far from now. So the last application date is June 28th. Your payment options are you can pay it in full, the full $13.50, or you can do a 2-part payment where the first installment is due immediately and the final installment is due by July 24th. Or you can do a 3-part payment where the first installation is due immediately. The second is paid by July 19th, and then the third and final installment is due August 8th. So you can talk to your program administrator that you've been in touch with for any more information about the fees and application deadlines. When you finish the course, you'll get a certificate that's from Emeritus, and it will say that this is to certify that you have attended and successfully completed the Python for Data Analytics June 2020 course, and that will be signed by the academic director of Emeritus. So this is a chance for any questions. If you do have any questions, please use the Q&A box and I can answer them for you. And just want to make sure that I've seen anything. Great. All right. And if you don't have any questions, that's fine as well. Hopefully I described everything well. And we went through this pretty quickly, so I want to make sure that you were able to get all the information you needed. And I talked very fast, so I could have slowed down a bit, but my excitement and passion get the best of me. So far, no questions. That's good. I'd be interested in knowing, where you're coming from as far as what kinds of backgrounds you have, and what is kind of making you want to take the next step and do Python for data analytics. And I'd also be interested in knowing if any of you have any Python skills. So if you do, or if you want to share where you're coming from, please do. I'd love to know. And I'll just leave this open so that anyone who wants to ask a question can. Okay, well, it looks like there are no questions. So thank you so much for participating in this information session. And let me just make sure. Oh, I do see a question answered. Asan said, from a cybersecurity perspective, you'd like to learn data analytics using Python since you deal with an immense data on a daily basis. How will data analytics help in this regard? That's a great question. When you get a lot of data, I think what's most important to know is, are there any outliers? Like, what is the trend of my data? And how can I tell if something is different? How can I tell if there's something that's going on? I think there are a lot of machine learning applications for either fraud detection or cybersecurity detection. But the first step really is to be able to be aware of how much data are we getting in, and what does regular look like for our data, and how can we tell if things stop being regular? What are outliers when we look at our data, or how can we tell if something has changed, or if there's something that is not correct within the data? So I think that being able to read in a lot of data, manage that data. I mean, even for me, for a lot of the functions that I have, reporting is huge. So there are absolutely data science machine learning applications that I do where I'm trying to forecast and predict. But I would say that 80% of what I do is taking in data from our partners and from our enterprise, merging that data together and reporting on yesterday's results, or reporting on things that are currently happening, changes, or the top most items that are important to our company, are important to my job and my accounts. I have to think about what is the top 20% of the items that are important to our revenue or to our profitability, and how are they doing today? Are they doing worse or better than yesterday? And so I think it's really important that you're able to read in a lot of data and sort of suss out what's happening in my data. What happened yesterday? What was the trend? Is today going to be like that? What do I get from what I've seen so far? Is what happened yesterday expected, or was it unexpected? So I always tell my teammates who don't have the same background that I do, is I want to be able to know from you, from a question, what is going to happen tomorrow? Like, what's your prediction? How many orders do you think you'll get? How many customers do you think you'll have? How many processes will fail tomorrow? Just give me a guess. Just tell me out of your mouth, what do you think? Because that's based on some intuition that you have. And usually for domain experts, it's based on being in the data all the time, that you just think, oh, well, 10 would be a really big number. There's going to be something like 2 or 3, but not 10. But statistically, you can show that. And so being able to read in your data and find what is an outlier really, what would be an outlier for this day of week or for this time of year. So just being able to work with your data and to develop those things that we know intuitively, but are actually need to be data driven in every part of business. I think that's really a big aspect of this. So, and then compared to other e-learning platforms, why is Emeritus, the course fee is super high? I think that, with working with these Ivy League institutions directly, the course fee for Emeritus is actually quite low in comparison to these same courses through the universities directly. So partly, I would say that the course fee is determined by the content itself coming from well-developed practitioners. And partly it's the support system that you get and the development of the support, that the learning experience is designed for you to complete rather than here's the material and you're sort of on your own for it. I think that there's more of an ecosystem with Emeritus where you're learning things in context. I love online courses, so I'm always enrolled in online courses, but I have about 50 online courses that I've enrolled in over the last year, and I have not completed one of them because I go in and I just take a piece of information or I watch one video and that's it. You know, I'm just trying to get a little piece of information, but I'm not building a skill set that starts from a foundation and goes to the end. And so I think a big aspect is this is really like a professional development course versus just a college course in which you can develop some knowledge or you can read a book. So you can go out onto the internet and find all sorts of blogs and tutorials to get a piece of knowledge. But this is a lot more like professional development where trained professionals have worked to develop content in a learning manner that makes it accessible to different learners and have created the applications and the discussions that can facilitate that. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference between this and this other online stuff. Will this course help in developing algorithms? So if you're talking about machine learning algorithms, I would say no, because there's an applied machine learning course that just does the algorithms part, for which this is actually the front end of the course. So the Python for data analytics is a nice segue into algorithm development, but that I would say algorithm development is machine learning, and there's a course just for that. Do you provide any job assistance upon completion of the course in Canada? I don't think so. I would have to say ask program support about that, but I don't think so. It's a good question. Very good question. Any other questions? That was fun. Hi, okay, you have a background in aviation and you want to gain knowledge in data analytics to perform market research and compile data of aircraft pricing trends and sales trends within corporate aviation. How could data analytics help with this? That's a good question. So data analytics is definitely going to help you if you have access to the data or can find it publicly. That's probably the most important step, but then being able to pull in that data and analyze that data, I think you'll be able to I think the thing about market research is pulling in data from the market or creating data tables yourself where the data is, you have to have data. I would have to say first and foremost, this won't allow you to create data out of thin air, but having data, you'll be able to create the trends, you'll be able to create visualizations, you'll be able to sort of determine anything that is interesting to you. So I do think that once you've got data, this is a very useful course for doing any sort of trend analysis or to saying, particularly if there's any specific group that's doing well and any attributes of that group that's doing well. It's great if your data has different, both in time, profitability figures, sales figures, but also attributes of different aircraft prices and the aircraft itself. So I think it can be, I think the more you can grab data from different sources, and I would say one of the things I was just looking at last night was the dental insurance market. And we found we have a lot of data that's publicly given on dental insurance, but it's all separate data. So there's data on the types of policies available. There's data on the types of most used policies, whether it's adult orthodontia, child orthodontia, or child dental visits. There's data on the prices for different plans. And so we have all this different data. We have to find ways to join them together to see the overall trend, because which plans were available, what did those plans entail, which were the most used of those plans. The more you can connect them, the more your insights make sense. And so I think we've said for a long time, for the last 10 years at least, that connected data is really the next step for enterprise and for business leaders and for consultants, as you want to be able to have a connected view of what's happening. So I think this course is essential for that, because I think machine learning isn't necessarily what you need for being able to figure out the trends and to do an analysis, you need to be able to have visualization, you need to be able to have an understanding of statistics and basic inference, and you need to be able to connect and slice your data to look at specific timeframes or specific groups or specific aircraft. And so those are definitely the capabilities that you learn in this course. Great question. Any other questions? Make sure we're on time here. All right, well, if there are no other questions, then I will end this session and thank you all for joining, and I hope that you had your questions answered. If you do have any more questions, please talk with your administrator, and I'm sure they'll be able to answer any questions you have. But other than that, have a great day and a great rest of your week.